So it's been a little over 1 week since I picked up my 12C. The experience has been good thus far. I have had a couple little weird electrical quirks or gremlins with the car. On the second day of driving it, the air conditioning shut off on me. Just driving along, I had it full-blown maxed out on recirculate. It shuts off without any warning, and then the little display on the door handle had a little wrench and the word call. I just kind of said to myself, great, this is how my new 12C relationship is going to start out. I've turned off all the buttons, it fired right back up, hasn't been a problem whatsoever. I have received the intermittent ghost passenger, and that is where the warning chime for the passenger seat belt will come on even though there's nobody sitting in the seat. I haven't had that happen in a couple of days. The few times I have had it happen, I've had a couple of items sitting in the seat. I've read that sometimes the pressure sensors in these seats can be set way too sensitive. I have a hard time believing that an iPhone 10 weighs so much that it would trip that sensor. I've been cognizant of not putting anything in the seat, and I haven't had any problems with the sensor tripping. Another problem I noticed with the car is the fuel door doesn't lock. You can hear the actuator when you lock and unlock the car. You can hear the actuator for the lock mechanism. It's doing something, but it's definitely not locking. I looked a little closer into it. There's a little rod that moves up and down. That rod, when you lock the door, the rod will move up and it'll lock into the hinge of the fuel door, and when you unlock it, it'll retract. I've read that on the early build 12Cs, which this falls within that range, it was a faulty design and that mechanism would fail. Dealers were replacing it under warranty. This car has a warranty. I can surely get that replaced. I'm not one bit worried about that. I'm not even worried about it not working. I'm not worried about somebody getting into my fuel tank and wreaking havoc on the car, stealing gas. The car is locked up in a secure location when I'm not driving it. When I do drive it on occasion, it'll be at work where there is adequate security. There's plenty of cameras around. Not worried about that. Another little problem I've noticed is the turn signal. When turning left, when you complete the turn and bring the steering wheel back to center, you'll hear a loud pop. The lever will go back to center, but the flasher keeps flashing left. So there's obviously something wrong in the turn signal stock that's not allowing the mechanism to release. I've noticed it's worse on really hot days. When the car's cold in the morning, when I go to take off on a really cold morning, well, cold for summertime at least, it works perfect. So it's definitely another quirk with it in regards to the temperature. I have noticed that the more I'm driving it, the better it is overall. I'm not getting the weird passenger safety, the AC's not shutting off. I did get a fault one day. I drove it, went in for an appointment, came back out, started it, and it said PCC fault, stop vehicle immediately. It struck me as a little odd because the car wasn't even moving. It had been sitting for a few hours. I fired it up and then the warning came up, and that has to do with the hydraulic ride system on here. I did a search on that and read that that is another one of those faults that kind of randomly comes and goes. It could be an indication of a major problem. It could be that the hydraulic accumulators to the suspension system has failed, or it might just be another one of those McLaren gremlins that just pops up on occasion. It hasn't happened since. I've put almost 700 miles on this car since I picked it up roughly a week and a half ago. 400 of that was coming home. I'm making it a point to capitalize on the nice weather here. I do have a 1-year warranty on it. If something's going to fail, I want it to fail very soon. That way I can get the car sent off, repaired, and back within the warranty time period. I did want to talk a little bit about the purchasing experience, the buying experience with Motor Cars of Atlanta. It was a very positive experience. The sales guy was very helpful, very thorough. When I initially looked at the car, 2 weeks prior to purchasing it, I noticed several problems with it. The most notable one was the taillights. While he was backing the car up, getting it ready for me to test drive, I noticed that the second array of LEDs from the top on the passenger side was strobing. It was strobing from left to right. And then that same array of lights on the driver's side was only half illuminated. And I remember watching a YouTube video from Troy talking about how he had one of his lights replaced under warranty and then another tail light went out. So I brought that up. I said, hey, you know, this car has faulty tail lights. These need to be addressed. The second problem I noticed is one of the grill bars in the front. There's these little decorative bars that snap in. Very flimsy, easy to fall off. One of those was missing. And then I noticed a couple of trim bolts holding the side carbon engine covers on. A couple of those bolts were missing. The dealer went out of the way to take care of all those problems prior to me taking delivery of the car. In addition to that, I had noticed that the head badge, and this ties into another video that Troy had posted about his head badge being faded and he wanted to replace it. McLaren warranty wouldn't cover that because it's considered a wear and tear item. I fully understand why that wouldn't be covered. I was prepared to pay for it. He gave me a price on it. When I went to go pick up the car, he said, there's something we need to tell you about the car. We went ahead and replaced the hood emblem, the hood badge, and also the one on the rear, the one that has the McLaren and the little McLaren tick. I thought, wow, that's amazing, because those emblems are relatively expensive. For being a really small part, it is a McLaren, so they're expensive to replace. And also in my first video, after I picked it up, those following will notice the obnoxious wind noise that I had out of the passenger side window. I wound up taking what I had laying in the garage, a piece of Teflon rope. It's just not very long, a piece of Teflon rope that's used for sealing bathroom faucets. I wedged it behind that weather stripping that goes against the window. I took it for a test drive. It's perfect. Completely reversible. You know, if I ever need to take that out, I can. Being that it's Teflon, it's not going to interact with the rubber or the plastic that it's wedged against. But it did take care of that. But then it just shows, you know, how seals can age in a car over time. That was taken care of very quickly. So, in all, the experience with the car has been very positive. I love the thing immensely. There was that issue with that tab broken on the coolant reservoir. I took care of that. As silly as it sounds, I used crazy glue to fix that. It's been holding just fine. I don't know that I'll ever have a problem with that again, or if I should even worry about addressing it. If the car ever happens to need any kind of warranty repair, I will be sending it off, and then I'll make a list of the turn signal being broken and that coolant reservoir had been half-ass repaired. Oh, there was one thing, another thing I forgot to mention. Another little electrical gremlin or quirk is this car is equipped with the optional memory seats. They have memory functions and heat. On the passenger side, the memory buttons do not work. I've tried everything possible. You're supposed to be able to press M and then a corresponding number 1, 2 to 3, and it'll log wherever the seat position is. It'll log that into the memory. I've read on the forums that is another common problem with the 12C, that even cars new from the factory delivered to the customer didn't work right. And some of that is as simple as plugging it into the software and reprogramming the seat. I'm not one bit worried about it. I didn't purchase this car for the memory seats. I don't care that the memory function doesn't work, as long as I can adjust them, as long as the fore aft, up and down, and the seat back adjust, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'll just add that to the list of things that need to be repaired if and when a major warranty arises. That's really all I have to report on the car right now. It's only been a week and a half. I'm sure other things will pop up. I do appreciate those who have been following me. I'm sorry the Viper had to go. I just I don't have the income that would allow me to own two really awesome, expensive cars. The Viper I loved immensely. This car to me is more of a daily livable car. I can daily drive this thing, and I drove it to work every day. I didn't drive it this last weekend, but I drove it today to work, to and from work, and it's just a phenomenal car. It's smooth, it's livable. The fact that you can adjust the suspension and that the drivetrain makes it a really enjoyable car. The Viper, it was what it was. It was a perfectly tuned track car that in the right hands would decimate just about everything on a road course. For daily use, it wasn't that great, especially with the one I had. It had a large cam in it, so the drivability was pretty terrible. Anything under 2,000 RPMs and the car would want to buck and kick and jerk just like any large displacement motor with a big cam in it. So street driving usually involved, you get going a little bit, you push the clutch in and coast. On the track, it was phenomenal. Street, not so much. This car, it's great on the street. I'm sure it's great on the track. It's great all the way around. I've driven it in the rain. And with the silver metallic paint on here, there are a few scratches and chips here and there, and the car's dirty, but it still looks amazing. I love having a silver car for that reason. The blue in the Viper, it was an amazing color. It was smooth, it was perfect. When cleaned up, it looked phenomenal, but it was a nightmare to maintain. So in all, I'm extremely happy with the 12C, and I will keep everybody updated on what's going on with it. I'm shooting for weekly videos, if not more than once a week, and thank you all for watching.